Okay, so first of all, I am trying the SE Electronics Dynacaster for the first time without the preamp on. Maybe not the first time, but I'm trying it again. So I have the Audient ID14 preamp cranked to the max. But I want you to see. I want you guys to see. I don't know why, but this is how I research products. Besides trying them out. And so far, these are my notes. And I got these from the hardware user manual. And I got to double check on this as far as the plugin is concerned. But I was curious to see the differences between the hardware and the software because they may not be exactly the same. So here we are. This is Acustica's newest plugin. It's called Zaffre, I believe. Zaffre. Something like that. So here's all. I'm not even gonna read this out loud, to be honest with you. You guys can hear me click and move things around, and if you can hear that, there's a car speeding down the street. But besides that, you guys are gonna see me taking notes, and that's about it. It's always important. And sometimes I forget to talk about the platforms right in the beginning. The plug-in platforms. And I think that's also at the very end. Usually they are. Also, I should do the ZL because I have to always assume that people don't know what Acustica audio is. And then also ZL versus normal plugins. And actually, I had read that they were going to discontinue the normal plugin or discontinue the distinction because the ultra slash hyper technology, whatever you want to call it, was so darn good that the CPU usage between ZL versus the normal one was almost negligent. And the most important factor is with the normal plugins, the buffer goes up and there's only like a maximum amount of buffer that every DAW can handle until you start getting glitches. So the ZL versions, they use a little bit more of the CPU, but they use a lot less buffer time. So I've actually started using the ZL versions. So they even say, well, they say for tracking, but yeah. Excuse me. Doing this late at night as usual. Let's see. Yeah, Aquarius. I don't know if you can do. I don't think there's standalone files anymore. So you have to do the Aquarius app. Aquarius installer. which I think overall is a good. It's a good program. I don't believe it is. Um, the user interface is not designed for widescreen monitors, and I never understood why, but yeah. So, but it's easy to use. It's a lot easier to use than their former challenge response system, which, my goodness, it's been years since they've done that. So, I'm also glad that Acustica Audio still unofficially supports Windows 7. That's a great thing. But one day that's not going to be the case, just like a few other plugin companies. And yeah, oops, I thought I was still on page 2, but all right, now I'm on. Should we just call that the areograph? Mm-hmm. That's Hyper 3. All right. Make sure I make a note of that. Where's it at? Oh. So from my understanding, the original Hyper was for compressors. Hyper 2 was for the preamps, and then Hyper 3 was the EQ. So if a plugin has Hyper 3, it has all three of those within the Hyper tech. And from my understanding, the transient portion of the waveform is a lot more accurate than what it used to be. And the rest of it is semi, I want to say, algorithmic, because previously, when it was 100% sampling based, there was issues. There was some issues. So, but if you want the analog sound, you need to enable the preamps. They call them preamps. It's saturation. Other plugins would call it the analog button. So they just call it preamps because it's different. It's different kinds of saturation depending on which one you select. Okay, the resizing feature is probably my favorite one personally, and they made it so you can do it in real time, and also with the Hypertech was you when you move a knob, it just goes. Before it would be like a 2-second delay, and not anymore. Not anymore. Also, less disk space is taken up. That's always a nice thing. So, all right, moving on. So this is primarily mastering. I already wrote that down. So, oh, wait a minute. Let me section this off. But since it's based on recording / mixing EQ, can be used for anything. So the main distinction with a mastering EQ versus a normal one is that mastering equalizers have what's called stepped controls, so that you can recall those controls a lot easier, compared to continuously variable controls, where it's a lot harder to dial in the exact sound that you may want. That's a hardware distinction. Now in software, you have instant recall. That's the big advantage with software, is besides the price, is you have instant recall. So yeah, here we go. So they are defining this plugin as high fidelity, transparent, smooth, and See, there's so many that are described that way. I don't even like using those marketing terms. But I will say that this equalizer definitely is on the, we'll call it clean side of things. Okay, now this one's important. What is the compressor? That's a VCA. So it's a VCA compressor. Now the question would be, is this along the lines of the Red 3? I like the Red 3. So I kind of wonder about that. Could be. Oh, hold on, let me go back up. Okay. 2 plugins. All right, 4-band mastering EQ. I think that's already obvious. The 3 preamps, I'm gonna have to define what those are. You know, the one thing I don't like about, well, the assumption has to be made that the user doesn't know. I don't know, to me, sometimes they should like put the okay, here we go. The preamp, like the less obvious stuff maybe should be included at the top of the user manual. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. And you know, honestly, I do some of my best thinking when I'm tired, so I may sound lethargic, but when my brain slows down, I get into more critical thinking, ironically. You know, again, I'm not as quick on my feet, but the deeper thinking comes out like right around now. Oh, what is that? Including powerful new controls that add contemporary features missing from the original hardware counterparts. I wonder what that means. Oh, I know what that means. Yeah, I know what that means. Never mind. I was thinking they were referring to the preamps, but they could be. They could be. But there's more to it than just that. All right, so they got the 4-band with 2 filters. And that's it. All right. All right. We already talked about ZL. This is like redundant information, but I guess they got to do it because sometimes people don't read every section. All right, here we go. Here's Hyper 3 defined. So it combines infinity impulse response with finite impulse responses. There we go. I'll just copy and paste this. Yes, excuse me on that one. Hyper 3 technology. There we go. And see what I do. See, when I'm taking notes, I'm basically minimizing what's already been written, because I don't want to read this entire manual for you guys in the main video. You know? So let's see here. Here we go. Glad I noticed that. I don't know why it went. I'm confused on this manual here. So is this continue down here? It looks like it. Yeah, digital mode. Yeah, that's it. Yep, this is a continuation from that other paragraph. It's a little confusing, but not Acustica's problem, because I bet you if I did this 2 up, it would be next to it. So hyper. There we go. Okay, and this defines the different hyper modes. Oh boy. Dual mono EQ. So it can creatively enhance audio and eliminate problematic frequencies without overly impacting. Okay, that's true. So from my understanding, now well, I haven't used it, but it is available in Access Analog. The Focusrite, I think, what is it, the 315 Mark II. This is based on the 315 Mark I, the original, and I just haven't used it. And from what I've read, it's not like the most popular mastering EQ. It's pretty much like a third choice, or like a third one in line. And if the other ones don't work, this one will. Kind of like one of those deals. Now I think it can go beyond that, because in my opinion, this is along the lines of Acustica's previous releases, Seal and Big Seal. And there's a little bit more controls. This is more like the Focusrite Studio Console equalizer. Again, just because it says mastering doesn't mean you can't use it on tracks or on buses for that matter. So let's see, input trim. This is all about the preamp. So we'll talk about the preamp controls separately, because I think that's one thing. Well, they're kind of doing it right here. So preamp controls are defined on page 9. We got the input trim. You know what? Let me talk about this first. So Ultra, Alive, and then the Alive knob. Okay. And then we can talk about the input trim at that point. Okay, and we got all the EQs. And does this tell us what it actually is? Okay, low pass. First, oh, it's a 12 decibel per octave low pass filter. Filters. See, I'm gonna have to put the notes. This is why I'm like kind of going through this and reorganizing where these controls are. So that is, low pass filter is 12 dB per octave. Goes to 10 kilohertz. That's cool. And I think this is actually says off, not out. I'll double check on that, but I think that needs to be corrected. Oh, 18 dB. See, this is the difference. This is why it's important. So the high pass filter, 18 dB per octave. That is the distinction. It's pretty cool, actually. The high pass, well, I'm not Rupert Neve or anything, but the high pass, or I'm sorry, the low pass filter, I might have made it at 6 decibels per octave, but I don't know. Maybe 12's better. Okay, here we go. The preamp. This is what I'm talking about with the. Alright, so the preamps. So this is called the mode. Is it called the model? Models. One is mastering EQ. 2 equals and 3 ooh, it is a preamp from the best mixing consoles ever created. Huh. So you can use that one on tracks, like I was saying earlier, to be a little bit more realistic. Cool. So I'm curious though, is this from... Is this a microphone or line input? I'll have to ask Acustica about that one. Maybe I should put that in a separate... Use the preamp button. Okay, duh. Okay, we already talked about that, but it's worth repeating. Oh, what is this? Oh, that's right. This is the mode selectors for the mid side. Yep. That's so cool. They make basically all their EQs with mid side processing built in now. Yep. Okay, listening modes. So we have processing modes and then listening modes. I'll make that distinction too. Listening versus processing modes. And actually, one thing about the listening modes is they have something. So this is called delta, and it lets you hear. It says it right there. The difference between the original signal and the process signal. Some people like that. I don't really care, honestly. I like to just bypass and hear the before and after that way. Alright, oversampling. Oh, oversampling. Yeah. So I don't know if this should be first or what. Here we go. Just the whole plugin GUI size. Okay. Maybe I'll put that first. Size menu. And what else is very important? I guess oversampling should be. I would do that. I think oversampling is definitely important. All right. So there's two ways to do it. It's either through the menu or drag the bottom right corner. Ooh, presets. But see, I don't like EQ presets. But you know what I like is that it kind of gives you an idea what a piece of software was designed for. So EQ display. They should just call it the ARIA display. Scope. Visualize the spectrum of the output. See, I didn't know what this meant before. I kind of figured it out, but that's kind of towards the top, is it not? I don't like that. See, this is like what I'm talking about. Like this should be like towards the top. Kind of. Okay. EQ display. I don't think you can disable that either, can you? Ooh. See, some people don't know that part. Use the mouse wheel when hovering your cursor over a band to change the bandwidth. The Q. Yep. The width, or how wide or narrow it affects a given frequency. Oh man. Well, I should say frequency group, not just one frequency, because that sure as heck is not what's going on. View and edit the frequency response. Okay. Drag each point left and right. Now, can you like hold down control? I wonder if they've done that yet. So this is another question. I'm going to make a question section. In the EQ graph, can you hold down key modifier like in other plugins to maintain positions? I don't think they're calling it a node though. They're calling it a band. Band bandwidth. I don't like that. Let's see. Bypass. I guess that's important. They do have a phase reverse button. What? No way. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. This is actually on the hardware. That's why I'm so excited about that. Yeah. Okay, next. Did I already talk about presets? Yeah, I did. Okay, here's the compressor. Well, see, the Red 3 compressor. That's a good question. Is Red 3 similar to this compressor? Because if it is, that's pretty cool. If it's not, I mean, ultimately what matters is what does it sound like. So, hold on. Where's my other question? Okay, Model 3. Preamp Model 3. I'll be back in like a minute. Hold on. My belt was digging into my stomach. Like I said, guys, you're getting all the nitty gritty. This is the grunt work that I do to make videos possible. And you're just along for the ride. The boring grunt work. Okay. Precision dynamic control. I like that. I know it's precision N, but I think precision dynamic control. Superb transient response. Okay. Oh, so that's what the hardware is. Okay. Hold on. I think the Red 3 compressor also had a limiter built into it as well. I really liked using that with VBC. I still do occasionally. I forget about it sometimes. You know, in fact, I'm gonna make a note for myself. What's it called? BBC Red in, call it virtual outboard gear. Okay. Ooh. What's this saturator thing? This is interesting. Okay. So this is different. The input trim can be turned into a saturator when auto gain and ultra buttons are enabled. It's an input trim when auto gain is enabled, but Ultra is disabled. Huh. See, I would not have known. I would not have known that probably if I didn't read this manual. That's why I like to read user manuals. You find out little gems like that. So this, okay. It allows you to change the behavior of the input. Okay, I just read that, like literally. In trim mode. When the preamp stage is bypassed, it has no effect. Oh, yeah. I think input trim is a very important control. Absolutely. Compared to a regular input where it just kind of messes things up down the line. But sometimes you need it to be an input level as opposed to input trim. So is there no saturation going on if ultra is off? But or it's just more accurate. It's kind of like, I don't know. Pre-trim. Ooh. What? Okay. So everything kind of looks mostly the same. A lot of people may not know what SH mod means. So I'll definitely talk about it here. Sidechain filter. I think everybody knows what a mix knob is by now, right? The wet and dry knob. I don't have to. Now this is important. The attack and release hold. I think all three of these are important. So I'm just copying and pasting them. If I can figure out how to explain it better, then I will. Sometimes you just have to play with these knobs and listen to your material, and if it sounds better, use it. If not, go back to the original setting. Okay. See, these different dithering modes were explained in another user manual, but they're not in this one. Okay. True peak mode. Yep. Here, this kind of explains it a little better than I saw before. Okay. Interactive compression display. Oh, okay. I don't think you can adjust parameters directly on the compression display area, but cool. I think that's it, guys. The rest of this is pretty much just a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, at this point I'm gonna have to just try it on some material and get those demos ready for everything to go, and rock and roll. Get this video out hopefully by Wednesday. Get the actual Zaffre. Zaffre? I gotta know how to say this word. Like, honestly, how's this pronounced? I'll get it from what the video Acustica Audio put out. Thank you all for watching on Real Home Recording 2.